Megan does eggs. Man, she brings me her egg cartons because we have chickens, and I always bring her eggs, and today I was in such a rush that I forgot to bring her eggs.
Sure, turn down my phone.
Yeah, it's down. All right, you guys practice? La, 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 la. Did you do your warm-ups? That's right. Me, ma, mo, moo, moo. Are you in the show? You're not? Oh, look, it was California. They were always in the show. No, my brother was in the show. Really?
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call Monday, March 28th, business meeting of the Board of Education to order. I'd ask you to please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and I'd like to just point out that the exits are behind us and also behind all of you sitting here this evening. Thank you. First order of business is public comments. The public may address the board at times indicated on the agenda, with the first opportunity being early in the meeting and the second opportunity later in the meeting. Each person is asked to speak into the microphone and identify himself or herself. Speakers are asked to limit comments to 3 minutes. The public comment period will have a 30-minute time allocation. We would ask that when the 30-minute mark is reached, then the remaining comments be held until the final comment period later in the meeting. Please remember that there is no cross-discussing between persons or the board. Each speaker may speak once during each comment period. Please remember also that personal attacks of any kind have no place in our community, district, or meetings, and only serve to create conflict and tear us further apart at the exact moment when we should be coming together. Anything of this nature directed towards staff, students, or the community is unacceptable. All speakers are to conduct themselves in a civil manner. Obscene language, libelous statements, threats of violence, statements advocating racial, religious, or other forms of prejudice will not be tolerated. Persons wishing to discuss matters involving individual district personnel or students should present their comments and/or concerns to the superintendent during regular business hours, and that is from Policy 2030, public participation at board meetings. So if anybody wishes to speak at this time, there are microphones at each end of the tables.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, and welcome back. I have a couple questions on the environmental impact study for the artificial turf that's been proposed for the high school. And I'd like to ask all board members, has anyone gone around the perimeter of the high school? From the area, the field actually is built on a hillside, but at the bottom of the hillside, they are from Dragon Drive to the right toward Jackson Avenue, there are wetlands. The wetlands and the surface water extend from Dragon Drive to Golden Pond. There, the water form a pond. On Golden Pond, there's about 3 or 4 homes, and they extend back toward the hillside or the field. The water then from the Golden Pond, from the big pond, flow again toward the west, toward Shadowwood Lane. Shadowwood Lane is also parallel to Dragon Drive and extends back toward the hillside. on that lane, there is approximately about 10 to 12 homes. All these homes are on well water. There is no town water there. Also, the wetlands surface water flows from the high school area under Route 94 to additional wetlands on the other side of 94. My question to the board is, during the environmental impact study, have you looked at that? How do you propose to protect, A, the wetlands, and B, how do you propose to protect the aquifer? That aquifer is the sole source that those people living nearby, they use for drinking water. Also keep in mind that the lake, Newburgh Lake, Orange Lake, whatever the name of it is, got contaminated from Stewart Airport. That's a long distance. So my additional concerns is, how are you going to propose to protect the Mudna and all the homes around Orrs Mill Road? They also have wells. Another point, can we receive a copy of the environmental impact statement so we can comment further on and we can understand it? And we know that under SEGRA, because you are the lead agency, you can issue a negative declaration. We're familiar with that because Mr. Cartwright can tell you that we save our stream. We're the lead agency to protect the Mudna. We're into the same process. But we would like to share more information so we can work together. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Thomas Keene. This is Felix. I'm 18 and I'm a senior here. Yesterday, I saw something from one of the board members on the Cornwall Youth Football Facebook page that really surprised me. What took me aback the most was how you treated Mr. Cartwright, who has done so much for me in this community. I've played football here since I was 6 years old, and since the beginning, Mr. Cartwright has done so much for me as well as all the other kids who have come here tonight in support. In the back. When I first stepped up and began volunteering with Mr. Cartwright, I saw firsthand the work he puts in out of his own time, and to see the disrespect that's being shown to him is honestly reprehensible. To call him selfish is the complete opposite of who he is and what he has taught me over the years. The game of football, like many other things, teaches kids things like sportsmanship and teamwork, but what it has taught me most through my time with Cornwall football is selflessness. Mr. Cartwright's work over the past 30 years has touched so many people here, and to disrespect one of the key members of this town is to disrespect all of the people who he's inspired to give their time to this community. I've earned my 200 hours of community service diploma with the help of Mr. Cartwright, and he's helped me realize many of my core values. Our interim athletic director has said things about how football is the reason that this bond will not pass, and and done things against football, both on the youth and varsity level, that is not fair at all to the kids. An example I could think outside of the present issue is how she tried to kick youth football from having their tunnel from the varsity kids, not caring about the tradition that I was once a part of when I was playing youth. Every time I saw those varsity players when I was in the youth program walk through that tunnel, it inspired me, and to try to take away a tradition like that feels heartless. It is becoming increasingly obvious to me and many others that you are trying to use us, the students of Cornwall, as leverage against people who have a differing opinion to your own. To do this to Mr. Cartwright is not hurting him as much as you are hurting the children within your own school district. What I ask of you tonight is to give me a thorough explanation as to why Cornwall Youth Football has not been given access to the middle school field at such a late notice, as well as who will be using it at that time, and an apology for what has been said about Mr. Cartwright. I've come here not because my parents made me or because I want to argue with someone, but because I want to defend Mr. Cartwright and the program that has shaped mine and so many other lives. Regardless of most of us leaving in 6 months, the kids here tonight aren't fighting for ourselves but the future of sports in Cornwall. I hope that you will do what is right for the community in the future, because fighting online publicly like children younger than me does not make me hopeful for the town that I was raised in. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move, oh, I'm sorry, go right ahead. Oh, go right ahead, yes.
Good evening. Rafael Ortiz, live in Cornwall. I have some prepared remarks, and I come to you as a concerned Cornwall homeowner. Anytime we come together as neighbors with a sincere spirit and permitted to openly share how we may collectively help our schools, I really believe that we can grow. In this spirit, I come to you to respectfully warn you once again. Many in our community, many parents, teachers, taxpayers, but most importantly, our students, just feel that you are still not listening carefully to our silent cries. The silent cries of years of neglected schools infrastructure. The silent cries of undercompensated teachers crying for help to help our children. The silent cries of our children still struggling from the academic setbacks caused by COVID. I have to sadly point out that I believe that you've presented a false premise, that this bond and that this budget is not costing us anything. This is simply not true, because without a plan, we're potentially taking needed resources away from more important needs. For years, and I've sat in your shoes, so I know this firsthand. For years, the community has been asking for a plan, and we cannot find a strategic plan anywhere that articulates clearly where we are, where we would like to be as a school district, and lays out an action plan taking into consideration all of our constraints. Any good organization has a plan. I was so hopeful when this process started because there was real debate. I even reached out to the administrators for their courage for articulating their thoughts that the field should be located either here in the middle school or at the Cornwall High School. I really thought that the community would have a choice, that we would reach out and that we would give the community a real choice to make this decision. Our school's infrastructure did not fall into decay because we didn't have the money. That is not true. We've always had the money. We just didn't have a plan, a facilities plan that ensures our children have a safe place to learn and grow. Here are some weaknesses on the facilities committee. First, I asked the members, or two members of the facilities committee, what did they think when they visited the schools? They sadly informed me they had not visited the schools. So I asked myself, how can you make a recommendation without kicking the tires and visiting the schools? Secondly, the community was never really incorporated into the discussion. The facilities committee did not have an open forum to listen to our neighbors. For example, if we would have listened to my good friend, Anthony Iacano, a professional engineer that has our best interests, our long-term interests. He is a professional engineer with some real environmental and health concerns. We are not listening. We're just turning the other way. You brought in this gentleman, Mr. Magnet. If anyone would have done their due diligence, they would have known that Mr. Magnet is funded by their benefactor, which is the turf field synthetic industry. The turf field synthetic industry is who endowed Penn State program that pays his salary. So he could not be constructively critical of the choice between synthetic or real. I really think that we still have an opportunity to make this, to invite the community, to make this a three-part bond to decide between synthetic or real turf, do one here in the middle school and do one at the high school. And I believe that if we do that, if we bring the community together, we come back with a strategic plan, and we can do this because we have the capabilities in this board. Everybody here has that capacity to put together a strategic plan, to help our superintendent, to tell him, let's work together. We have a month and a half to come together and do this plan. If we do that, I strongly believe that we will come out strong on the 17th and support our schools. If we don't, I'm afraid that you will be met with a wall of resistance and skepticism. I'm sorry to say that.
Okay, we're going to move on to our next item of business, and that would be our reports. Again, I always say this, my favorite part of the meeting, our Board of Ed student representatives, John Germain and Caleb Sandler.
Hello. It's nice to see all your lovely faces since we haven't for a couple years, so I'd like to reintroduce myself since you only knew me from behind a mask. So hello, everyone. And I'm going to be starting with the good news from the COH. So the COH hosted Dr. Seuss and Read Across America Week from February 28th to March 4th. Students participated in different themed days throughout the week. The children and staff enjoyed seeing each other and dressed up, and lots of reading was completed. On March 4th, the Student Council participated in the stand-up program. Students from the Safe School Ambassador program at the high school led elementary and middle school students in a series of workshops about bullying prevention. The fourth graders involved are bringing back the information they learned to the students at COH. A second session will be held on March 24th. On March 8th, 68 fourth grade band and orchestra students participated in the instrumental recital held at COH. All the students had fun preparing for this event and enjoyed showing off their hard work. Musical selections included folk songs, pop tunes, and selections from Harry Potter, Encanto, and Star Wars. We even had an Irish jig and our very first sea shanty. All had a good time. On March 10th, the Student Council walked to the district office and visited with the superintendent. Each student prepared 2 questions for Mr. Dade. The students learned how many interesting things about the leader of our district. For example, how he became inspired to become a superintendent, his favorite sports team, his favorite color, what he wants to do in his retirement, and the many hard decisions he has had to make being the superintendent. The students thoroughly enjoyed his company. On March 21st, COH recognized World Down Syndrome Awareness Day by wearing mismatched socks. March 21st was selected to signify the uniqueness of triplification of the 21st chromosome, which causes Down syndrome. In 2013, the theme of wearing mismatched socks was initiated to raise awareness about Down syndrome. The idea was created because chromosomes are shaped like socks, and people with Down syndrome have an extra chromosome. Congratulations to the cast and crew of Aladdin Jr. You all did a fantastic job, and the audience was thoroughly entertained. We are all very proud of you. And additionally, thank you to the many PTO volunteers who made the production possible.
All right, hello everyone. Hope you guys are all doing well. Moving into the Willow Avenue, good news for March. March is National Nutrition Month, and here at Willow, we have set up a farmer's market in the cafeteria and created a Try It calendar. Students have been introduced to fruits, vegetables, and healthy snacks that they have been able to choose to try on Taste Test Tuesdays, Wellness Wednesdays, and Fruit Fridays. We kicked off our school readathon with Dr. Seuss Week. Students dressed in themes based on the Dr. Seuss Book of the Day, including Fox and Socks, Green Eggs and Ham, and Cat in the Hat Day. Willow Avenue students had the opportunity to join the elementary swim program at the high school after school for the month of March. Students in grades K through 4 had a great time with the high school students participating in this fun program. Our favorite Cornwall local reporter, Ken Cashman, visited Willow Avenue during our Friday morning opening to talk to our students about Lieutenant George Boyce, a World War II Medal of Honor winner who attended school at Willow Avenue. On Friday, our fourth grade students had the opportunity to attend the Medal of Honor ceremony at Town Hall. Students walked to Town Hall to be a part of the event. Willow Avenue students and staff were honored to be a part of this special day. Our third and fourth grade students were ready to show their ELA Smarties on the New York State ELA assessment this Tuesday and Wednesday. And lastly, our students are participating their talents and drama skills for our upcoming talent show and drama production of the Lion King Jr. in May.
And finally, on to the news from this school, Cornwall Elementary School. Partners in Reading is in full swing during the month of March at Cornwall Elementary School. It is our 42nd year participating in this program. The theme this year is Read Across America. Our hallways on the main floor are decorated with red, white, and blue. Throughout the month, the students will participate in a bookmark contest and find interesting fun facts about the United States of America. They will also be participating in Technology Turnoff Week. And every Friday this March, students were invited to dress up as something fun, such as their favorite book character. There was also much fun at the St. Patrick's Day celebrations this month. Miss Paddock's class had a secret reader who read The Luckiest Leprechaun. In addition, leprechaun traps were set up in many of the classrooms, and Miss Creashy's class had to solve riddles to find a surprise in Mr. German's office. On March 8th, the fourth grade instrumental recital was held at COH, and students from all 3 elementary schools participated in the recital. The students were awesome and well prepared for the recital, of course. Finally, the annual CCSD stand-up meetings were held on Thursday, March 3rd and Thursday, March 24th in the CES cafetorium. Students from the CCHS who are part of the Safe School Ambassadors Program, or SSA, worked with students from CCMS and fourth grade students from all 3 elementary schools during these meetings. The SSA members taught middle schoolers and elementary schoolers how to prevent and stop bullying by utilizing 6 different actions, including getting help, distracting, and reasoning. The meeting culminated the students performing skits that demonstrated in all the actions that they had learned that day. It was so great to see students from all the CCSD schools working together and learning how to support each other.
And now on to the middle school write-up. In March, students at CCMS have celebrated our diversity with Foreign Language Week. Students had the opportunity to celebrate their heritage and the many languages our students and families speak. The LOTE department held contests and trivia. The students also sold Pulsera bracelets. The Pulsera project employs artists in Nicaragua and Guatemala with well-paying fair trade jobs, providing positive and uplifting work in countries with high unemployment and frequently tough working conditions. Taking part in this project allows our students to learn more about these countries and provide support. Grades 7 and 8 SAC organized March Against Hunger. Homerooms competed against each other to collect the most non-perishable goods. Our CCMS students were amazing, as always, and collected hundreds of pounds of food. The CCMS Drama Club presented Honk, the musical of the Ugly Duckling. It was wonderful to be able to play for a live audience. We were so very excited to see so many CCMS students taking part both on stage and behind the scenes. Congratulations on a stellar performance. Abigail Ladley tied for third place in the Orange County Spelling Bee held in Goshen. Abigail was the eighth grade representative for CCMS. Congratulations.
And finally, on to the ones that we wrote from the high school. I would like you to guess what I'm about to say. Things have been good. A nice return to normalcy, maybe? Well, the cold this past week has certainly been a rude interruption in our digression towards spring. Regardless, this week at CCHS, we are actually having our Mamma Mia production with night shows Thursday to Saturday and a Sunday matinee. I was told that you can buy tickets online, and so if anyone is interested, you can probably check that out. Also, the Key Club recently organized an ice cream social in support of the Ukrainian humanitarian crisis. Additionally, Quiz Bowl, as well as Youth in Government, have had conventions across the county, both virtually and in person, and have been chugging forward pretty standardly. I wish I had more to say, but it has really been a relaxed month as we all chug towards spring break and hopefully better weather.
As for the sports front this spring, again, we've had a slow transition because, you guessed it, the weather. The boys' golf team, led by first-year coach Mr. Serbino, has been practicing inside with brand-new chipping and putting mats. This may seem like not much fun, but it has definitely helped everyone's short game, including my own. On another note for golf, this year we introduced our first ever girls' golf team, led by Coach O'Neill. The game of golf is growing every day, and it is amazing to see that we finally have enough girls to not do a co-ed team. The baseball and softball teams have been able to get out on the fields for most practices, but sometimes share time in the gym working on pitching. The boys and girls lacrosse teams have been practicing every day, including a few scrimmages to kickstart their season. Finally, the spring track team never fails to get outside, no matter what the weather is, because they run all year long, which is truly amazing to me.
So I think we should mention that I'm not sure if it was since the last meeting you had, but we had a relay of 4 boys go to nationals for track. I don't know if that was mentioned, but we had 4 All-Americans, and they won the actual national competition. So I thought that was worthy to say, if it hadn't been said before.
Thank you both so very much. Okay, the next order of business is Superintendent's update. Mr. Dade?
Good evening, everyone. Just wanted to start with update. It was great to hear from 2 of our students, 1 alum. With regards to youth football, just wanted to explain some of the background. Hopefully an email will go out today. We were able to accommodate space like we knew we would be able to all along. What is important to remember is we just approved a girls' golf team, like was mentioned, and 2 additional lacrosse teams. So when we were discussing this as a community, the field space came up as a concern because everyone's vying for the space. So we have our varsity, our JV, our modified lacrosse teams, our soccer teams are looking for field space, and then not to mention youth football, our Little League uses all of our fields, and our youth soccer program. So something that I'm just committed to, as much as I always mention, I played football from the age of 6 all the way through high school. I've made it a point to treat all sports equitably. So just like I protect the game field and don't let anyone else, I don't let soccer practice on the game field and the like, I had to do the same for lacrosse. So we were able to find field space, but my direction was, make sure that it's adjacent to where our lacrosse boys and girls are practicing and playing each and every day. So hopefully everyone will get that email soon with where. So everyone will get the email soon from the youth football program of where the location would be. So the other important update is for UPK. So there's been a lot of meetings and things going on with our universal pre-kindergarten. For the board, it's really important that you know that we're kind of walking a tightrope because we don't want to get too far ahead of the board because you haven't voted on the budget, but we also don't want to wait until May because then we'll be too late for putting anything in motion. So we're trying to walk that balance with you all and our engaged community. So just by way of review, in a previous budget meeting, we articulated UPK as a prioritized need for the district. Harvey articulated approximately $240K. That number is definitely going to fluctuate, and Harvey will talk a little bit about that. Remember that this is based on tuition rates of our area providers. So the state has a per pupil allocation of approximately $5,500, and then the district's responsible for making up the rest of that tuition. There's no such thing as vouchers allowed by the state. We can't say we'll give a partial check. We were required to cover the full delta of what's owed on tuition. And that's a state rule, that's not us coming up with that. In that budget meeting, we also discussed kind of short-term and long-term possibilities for the district. In the short term is really partnerships with what are called community-based organizations. Those are local pre-K providers that would be able to house our 4-year-old students. That would be kind of in the short term. Long term, we talked about the possibility of having UPK in-house. And then we also discussed like a combination of the two. But again, that's longer term. Since that last meeting, I met with a group of very interested parents on March 16th. They had a lot of questions for that meeting, just some for the board and community's benefit. Included kind of the current status, and I said it's really board vote, then community vote, and then we can figure out, next steps officially. They asked what they could do to support, and my big thing was making sure that they're relaying accurate information, keeping people in the pulse of watching these meetings and the like. They asked about certification of teachers, and Megan, Harvey, and I had meetings with providers, and this is a pretty big issue for local providers, so we're really talking with them about what that certification process looks like, what the requirements are, but that is a big issue for all preschool providers. They asked about space because they did pay attention to the last meeting and spaces of issues, so they asked, what if we found another space that could house pre-K, and we just kind of walked them through. It's really not our ultimate decision. Whatever space they found would have to meet the requirements of the state. So a space that came up was a space that used to house secondary, or still houses some secondary students. So we just walked through what that might look like, the intense work that would look like to make things that were for teenagers appropriate for our 4-year-old babies. So what that cost would be and the like. This past week, Megan, Harvey, and I met with 3 pre-K providers, 2 of which we met with last year, so it was kind of a hello again. Here's where we are currently. We gauged their interest. Are you still interested in partnering with the district? And then the key question that a lot of parents were interested in is how many seats might you have available if we were to run a lottery this year? No surprise to anyone in the room. Like I said, these are not providers that are struggling for business. These are providers that we know and love. So they're filling up seats fast, so we're trying to get in commitments of can you hold X number for us? So all of those were conversations that we had with the providers. Next steps. We, again, are walking that tightrope, but we want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence so that once the vote goes forward, that we will be able to act quickly for next steps. So one of the key pieces is what would a lottery entail? My team has really debated this back and forth, and where we're landed right now is there's going to be a certain number that we're comfortable with, shared by the providers, that can be our guarantee. So let's say the number is 30. The number is not 30. Let's say the number is 30 for tonight's purposes. 30 seats that the 4 providers have guaranteed to the district, that's how many seats we would hold a lottery for, and then we would have a wait list. If the number grew, so let's say the Berger family was already enrolled at X provider and they won the lottery, they would take one of our 30 slots, but then that would open up a slot for another family that may not have been enrolled at said school. So we want to go with a guarantee number, ask every single provider, how many can you guarantee for Cornwall? That's the number of slots that we would have a lottery for. And then the wait list is uber important, because once you have a set wait list of numerically where do you stand, you can always move families up into available slots. So that's kind of where we are now in the just planning phases. Again, we don't want to get too far ahead, but we also want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence with meeting with providers, getting some things in motion so that we can act quickly should it be approved. Mm-hmm.
So the lottery you just described, would that be for the 22-23 school year?
Yep, great question. So it would be for the 22-23 school year. What we would have to do is we would really have to do like our budget mailer and send something to every single family in Cornwall proper, because we don't know where the 4-year-olds are, saying, come one, come all. If you have a 4-year-old that would qualify, this is when the lottery would occur, and go from there. We couldn't just send a mailer out to existing providers, because that would be discriminating against families who might not have a spot. So it's really sending out to everyone, but it would be for 22, 23. If we move forward with this in years to come, the lottery would occur in the December, January timeframe. That's when a lottery should occur, so families are making smart decisions about, okay, I know I have a slot at X school, but I really like this one better, so I'm going to enroll there. But a typical lottery in other districts I've been in happens in the December, January timeframe, so families are making those decisions in February when every provider that we met with, they're sending out their letters now saying, keep your spot. If you don't let us know by X date, we're going to release it to another family.
Terry, the certification of these pre-K institutions is vital to the success of this program, right? We've identified 3 that we think meet those requirements. Is there going to be a requirement for us to actually do a thorough assessment to basically, lack of a better term, certify these 3 institutions for the purpose of pre-K for the school district?
Yep, so great question. So there is a website run by the Office of Early Learning. They are responsible for vetting those qualified institutions. The certified teacher piece, we would follow up with the state, just like we do with our own teaching staff, make sure certifications are current and things of that nature, or what we've learned is we're pretty sure that these teachers must at least have a plan over the next 5 years to gain that certification, is what the state says.
Terry, would, in terms of how we would make children or make this program available for children, will that dovetail with our age requirements for kindergarten such that anybody that gets into this would then transition into kindergarten and not be left out potentially if they didn't win a lottery in a subsequent year?
Yep, absolutely. So it's follows our same date cutoff. So that 4-year-old, and when we met with providers, when they asked, what are we looking for? We want them ready for Cornwall Public Schools kindergarten. So be able to go right from that 4-year-old program right into our kindergarten classes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Last Monday, the board held a special meeting with the purpose of approving the memorandum of agreement with the CCTA. I am very happy to report that the board approved this with no hesitation. And although it was a long process, the perseverance and dedication on both sides proved to be what finally brought this to fruition, and I am truly thankful for all those involved. Next item of business is our consent agenda. Use of the consent agenda permits the Board of Education to make more effective use of its time by adopting a single motion to cover those relatively routine matters which are included. Any member of the board who wishes to discuss individually a piece of business on the consent agenda may so indicate. Is there anyone that wishes to pull anything out at this time? Okay, it is recommended, I'm sorry.
Nancy?
Go ahead, John.
Just trying to figure out what that policy was. One of the policies for the second reading.
Yep, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10.
So I believe it's number 10.
Okay. So we have 2 through 9 and 11 through 14. And we'll do 10 separately. Okay, recommended that the Board of Education approve the following consent agenda submitted by the Superintendent of Schools, items 2 through 9 and 11 through 14. Do I have a motion?
Oh, Nancy, I screwed that up.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's actually number 9.
Number 9, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay. All right, I'll start over again. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following consent agenda as submitted by the Superintendent of Schools, items 2 through 8 and 10 through 14. Do I have a motion? And a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. So we'll go to number 9. Okay, so number 9, resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education does hereby accept the second reading of Board of Ed Policy 9500 and adoption of said policy. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second? And discussion. John?
So, thank you, Nancy. So, one of the changes to this, proposed change, is to remove the board president from this requirement to submit information regarding into the retirement system. It's replaced with the verbiage, and I believe I'm quoting this, paraphrasing, a district employee will submit this. I'm wondering if we could be a little bit more specific on who that employee might be. I don't know what the actual specific duties entail of that. You know, I know there's a lot of state reports that occur, but I'd feel more comfortable with actually a position as opposed to just some district employee being specified in a policy.
So for the policy committee, this came up as just something that we're trying to emulate what actually happens. So the Board of Education president doesn't report these pieces. Harvey and his team do. So since it's Harvey and his team, we went with a business official. I really don't mind it being the business official. I mean, Harvey's oversight of his team, so the business official for the district. Either one, I really. Yep. Mm-hmm. If it's okay with the board, Linda could. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Linda could update that, and we could still move forward with. I mean, that's a very slight modification. That was a good point. We kind of debated that back and forth. Should it be one person or the team? So either way, we were fine.
The business official.
Okay, so we're going to, we have a motion and a second, and we're going to alter the verbiage to say, instead of a business official, the assistant superintendent for business. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried on that. Thank you. Next item of business is the budget presentation.
All righty, good evening. Tonight we continue the budget presentations, and what we're going to do is this is really a continuation of the last meeting where we were diving into the expenditures. We're going to pick up where we left off, but we first have to ask ourselves what's changed since last meeting. There were some open items, as you might recall, and the only really item that transpired is that we had some additional staff retirement information come through. It was both a combination of a new retirement as well as some health insurance changes. We still have final notification of staff retirements, which we anticipate to get at the end of this week. The outcome of annual reviews, they're winding down, but they're still going on. We think that the major ones have surfaced and have already been dealt with, so that's good. Obviously, we're waiting for the final state aid figures. The governor and the legislature are talking. Hopefully, we'll get it in time, which is April 1st, in terms of their starting a new budget year. And lastly, defining what the property tax cap percentage will be. What will be the increase? So this just reflects the change of the retirement and health insurance. We're going to pick up where we left off, and that brings us to debt service. So debt service, as you can see from this current year, 21-22, to next year, is pretty much the same, $98 difference. What's important to note is if you look at the 3 outstanding borrowings that we have, the bottom one expires, we pay it off in the 22-23 school year, which is great. Transportation. Transportation is a big one this year. This year meaning next year's budget. Why? As you can see, the increase from this year to next year is targeted at about $450,000. This 22-23 school year reflects a 1-year extension with West Point Tours. When you have a 1-year extension with a contractor in transportation, the state requires you to stick no more than CPI. We don't exactly know what CPI is just yet, but we do know, as previously discussed, we do know that if we were to go out to bid, that the bid prices are coming in high double digits. We are hopeful that CPI will come in the May, significantly less than that, still high, but less than the double digits. So where exactly do we go with our buses? There are 6 key areas that comprise of about 810,000 miles a year that we drive these buses. So the first one is in-district public schools. This is home to school in the morning and school to home in the afternoon. We have 25 buses, 5 vans, and as you know, we have a 3-tier system, which means the same bus and the bus driver does the high school, middle school, and then an elementary run. We also have out-of-district special education. We have 17 buses taking 47 special needs students out of district. As you can see there, it's quite varied, the number of counties that we go to. We have a vocational program. We use Orange Ulster BOCES for our vocational program. As a K-12 district, we are required to offer a vocational option to our students at the high school. We use 3 buses to transport 88 students currently. Next, we have non-public schools. Some parents choose to put their students and their children into non-public schools. We are required to provide transportation within a 15-mile radius. To do so, it requires 9 buses and vans, and we transport 44 district students to 11 different locations. We have athletic team travel. We have 28 varsity teams, 15 JV, 14 modified, 1 freshman, and 2 unified. That's a lot of trips. Lastly, we have special programs. As you can see there, they're quite varied. Everything from field trips to what we call walk-it wounded. A student may break his ankle, break his leg, and we have to use a special van with a wheelchair lift to get them up and into the seat and into school. These all add to the costs. Next, we move to utilities. In light of what's going on in the world economy, we're very fortunate right now. We are part of a energy consortium, and we have locked in our pricing through the end of through June 2023. Okay. Now, it's important to note when I say we locked in, what we've locked in is the commodity price. There's really 3 factors that weigh into each of these costs. And it's not only the commodity price, that's the actual goods itself, whether it's electricity, natural gas, but there's also the delivery charge. That's getting from point A to point B, us, the school district, being point B. And there's also the third, which is usage. So as you can see, each of our 5 school buildings, we use natural gas. The district office still is on fuel oil, and the buildings and ground uses propane. So if you look down at the bottom, you'll see the breakout, what makes up the increase. The fuel oil is representative. Even though it's a small building, the district does use its fair share of fuel oil, and the price there has been going up. Electricity and natural gas, as I mentioned, the commodity price has been locked in. That's been saving us, which is great. However, we are experiencing usage increases. Electricity, we're using, every school district, more and more electricity from technology. Can't help it. Natural gas, propane, the natural gas is really a function of the severity of the weather. And lastly, we have water and sewer. Occupational education. This goes back to the vocational education programs that we are required as a school district to provide. As I mentioned, we use Orange Ulster BOCES. They have 34 different programs that our students can participate in. What we are noticing, and this is really quite interesting, for as long as I've been here, so for almost 16 years, that number has always been anywhere from 68 to 70 students. All of a sudden, this year, it jumped. It jumped up to 88 students being enrolled currently. In talking with guidance, that number is anticipated to stay right around where it is. So that's why you're seeing a large increase there. The cost for those programs is about $12,000 per student. Next, we move to insurance. We actually have a decrease here. We have a variety of different insurance policies, 10 to be exact. We are part of another consortium, NYSER, New York State Insurance Reciprocal. It focuses primarily, solely on school districts. And lastly, it's important to note the one area that NYSER doesn't cover, it's because it's dealt with by the state, it's New York State Unemployment Insurance. And we are budgeting $64,000 and change for next year. So this is good that we see a decrease here. The last area to talk about is the transfer to capital. Just for some backdrop, the transfer to capital line represents money that we identify in the budget to pay for those small projects that we're not going to go out with a separate proposition on. Because it's part of the budget, meaning it's part of the amount that the budget is going to be voted on, we do not need to go out with a separate proposition. When the taxpayers vote on the budget, they're essentially voting on the projects that we are including under transfer to capital. So what exactly makes up the 1.5 million, and why is there such a large increase? The first answer is the projects that are slated include the following. We have the middle school air conditioning, we have the B, C, and the E wings. Okay? That cost is projected to be just a little over $1.2 million. We have the district office, roof and gutters. I will tell you, it's a slate roof. I will tell you, if you come over and you go up in the attic with me during the day and you look up, you will see skylight. Okay, we have leaks up there, and you see the light of day. It's been that way for a while. It's getting worse and worse. We have to fix it. The district office also has some asbestos down in the basement area. It's been there for quite some time. It's been deteriorating, and it's kind of getting to the point now where we have to address it because it's in areas that people are. Lastly, the last item there is the district-wide building backflow preventers. What is this? This has to do with the supply of water to each of the buildings. Right now, there are no backflow preventers. The town has been asking us to put these in. It's really jeopardizes the town's supply. If, God forbid, we had some kind of an incident and the water flowed backwards, which it can do, and contaminates anything on the other end. So this is a smart move. This makes a lot of sense. The actual project itself will be more than $30,000. This $30,000 is to get it going and get it off the ground. There's a lot of design work, there's a lot of approvals, and a lot of permits that are needed. This is going to take care of that. So that's what encompasses the $1.5 million. Now, why the increase, and how are we going to pay for this? The reason that there's an increase is because we have what I would call this one-time opportunity to use what I'm going to call a one-time surplus at the end of this year. In addition to what we may experience with the normal budget, because of the federal funds that have been provided to the district, part of those federal funds are allowed to be used for instructional expenses that we have already budgeted for. So what we're doing is we are using a portion of the federal funds to pay for expenses, instructional expenses, that have already been budgeted for in our regular budget. So we're not going to be needing to tap into those expenditures out of general funds. So it will, in fact, cause a surplus. Okay. That surplus is a one-time surplus, and we're using it for this purpose. Now, somebody may say, okay, so we receive federal funds. Why don't we use that for something else? Why don't we use it for something instructional? Okay? Or better yet, it's my understanding that the federal funds can be used for capital improvements related to HVAC, air conditioning, filtration, et cetera. And that's exactly true. This application of a surplus here is far better than simply using those funds directly for a capital project. By virtue of generating a surplus in the manner in which we did and doing the project outside of the federal funds, we are not only able to fund this project with one-time savings, but we're also going to get building aid on it. Okay? If we did this through the federal aid, no aid, because you'd be double dipping. You're getting federal money and then you're getting state money. Okay? So this is completely, in line with what they say we can do, and we're going to take advantage of it. So let's kind of summarize some of the things that we've been talking about over the past few meetings. If you look at the 32822 line, that's as of tonight. So the preliminary expenses have come down because of that change with respect to retirement and health insurance. Our revenue has not changed yet because we are still waiting for final numbers. And consequently, to balance the budget, our assigned fund balance has come down a little bit as well. Now, I say it's come down, and I say our assigned fund balance. Our objective here is to have a tax levy increase of 0%, okay? This is something that we've really committed to, as I indicated at the very bottom, and it remains our objective. And I'm confident that we can do it. Next meeting, what we're going to do is we're going to dive into a little bit more with regards to the assigned fund balance. The 3.7, you might recall, is higher. It's about 1.5 million higher than what we are using for this year. Okay? That 1.5 is from that federal aid. Okay? So it's a lot of one time, and it's great. It gives us the ability to jump in, take care of something, and then jump back to normal, what I'll call. At our next meeting, we're going to try to sum everything up. We're going to talk about our final retirement notifications. Hopefully, we'll have final state aid figures, again, contingent on the legislature and the governor. We will address the previously identified needs. UPK will actually have numbers and information for you. We will also talk about the 0.5 FTE occupational therapist and the buildings and grounds request for 2 additional personnel. And lastly, as we always do as we start getting toward the end, have the board come to consensus on the final numbers. Lastly, I just want to reiterate again, it is our objective, a 0% increase. We have 2 more meetings, the second of which the board must adopt the budget, so there's still plenty of time for conversation, discussion, and critique. Any questions?
Harvey, I have 2 questions
Yes.
for you. On the transportation contracts, is that fully locked in, or is there, when we choose a transportation contract, is there a variable for fuel in that?
No, there's no variable for fuel.
Okay, so
It's
we
all
would
on them.
lock that in.
It's all on them.
Okay. And then the second question was on the backflow system for the water. Is that something that, you said the 30,000 is just to explore it. Do we have a sense of what that larger number is? And is that something that is, in our capital plan, or how is that
Sure.
currently budgeted?
Good question. It's not going to be as expensive as one might think. We don't have a firm number yet, but I would say it's somewhere between $100,000 and $200,000 at the most. It's important to note that the labor on this is going to be done by our in-house plumbers. Not plumbers, plumber. He's going to have some assistance. But this is a great example of the benefit of bringing on these tradespeople because I can tell you it would be twice as much going outside. So, but I can get you that number, you know.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Regarding the BOCES program for our students, I'm not surprised, given just a general push in our country for tradespeople
Right.
and for people, you know, not necessarily everyone wants to go to college or feels they need to go to college, and they're looking for a trade. And we need tradespeople. Is there any way that, and again, you know, I was fortunate to go see just a few of the programs up there with several other board members, and they're incredible. They're really incredible. And I actually hope that some students are encouraged to look at those programs, because I was really amazed. But be that as it may, is there any way that in advance we start to look, starting in 9th grade, trying to judge, since there is an expenditure, and now it's $12,000 per student for any program? Is that basically, that's the
Same amount for each
same
program.
amount? And also then what'll happen is there'll be more busing required if this continues exponentially to go up. So is there a way, when do we start actually pinpointing those students or looking for them so that we can start to budget if this continues in a trend?
Good question. So it's difficult, and I'll tell you why. There is a, what they call an open house, where they bring in the students who are not yet going. That recently occurred just a few weeks ago, maybe not even that long, maybe a couple weeks ago, and gives them an opportunity to tour, to see, and get some ideas. That's the starting point. Guidance now has a number. They also know traditionally how much that number typically works down. Even once they sign up and they start going, there's a drop-off over the first 2 weeks. Students decide, you know, this really just isn't what I thought, it's not for me. And that's okay. It's really just based on that historical, you know, it's not, you know, black and white. I wish it was. I would be able to budget better. I think COVID had a lot to do with this number. I think a lot of students are realizing, hey,
Yeah,
I want to take a different turn here.
okay, thank you.
So I wish I could.
No, it's like special education students. You can't know in advance students that are coming into the
Exactly.
district or, yeah, I understand
Exactly.
that. No problem. Thank you.
Harvey, not a question, but an observation. The transfer to capital, the projects that you're looking at have all been identified in our 5-year plan and have been vetted by the Facilities Committee.
That's correct.
So these are, you're not just grabbing something out of
That's
out
right.
of the air. These
That's
are
right.
things that have been vetted and recommended.
These have been prioritized, and it's also part of the discussion that was had by the committee as to what would be done in-house. And when I say in-house, meaning not through a bond or any kind of a separate proposition. There's something else I want to mention. Jim, I saw your finger on the I'm going to address your question that you asked this past week. After my presentation, there's 2 resolutions. There's a resolution for the SECRA for those 4 projects, and there's a resolution for the board to approve moving forward with those 2 projects, 4 projects. So the question is, why do we need those resolutions? Typically, in a normal situation, when you have projects within a transfer to capital line, when the board finally adopts the budget, they are, in a sense, approving the projects, okay? The problem is that we're trying to get in front of this. We're trying to expedite the process. By virtue of those 2 resolutions, I don't have to wait until you adopt the budget in April. We can do it now and get the architects and engineers moving. I can get the paperwork starting to flow up to Albany. It could buy us 2 to 3 months, and that's really critical for some of these projects. It costs us no extra money. It means nothing other than it just is smart planning to get in front of it. So I don't know if that was...
Thank you for that. That was one of my questions, but I just wanted to follow up on the busing question. Nina said there's no surcharges. Is that number that's not a final number though, right? Because you said it's based on the May CPI, so that's a placeholder number right now until we see what the final number is. Is that correct?
We won't, that you will not have the opportunity for the May CPI by the time you have to
Vote on
adopt the
budget,
budget.
right.
Okay, so what I will tell you is that number reflects
Is the
a
budget number,
7%
right.
increase in CPI right now.
Okay.
Last month it was 7.5. So, Harvey, going back to the transfer to capital fund.
Yes.
So, I appreciate the itemized listing here. And what really caught my attention was the air conditioning for the middle school, a lot more than what I had heard through the rumor mill. Are we confident in that number?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
In fact, it is high. It's because of the times. The lead times, the materials, any kind of capital project right now is like, you're ready to pull your hair out in terms of the cost.
For sure.
Okay? So, but we're confident. We've been hammering them, are you sure, are you sure? And yes.
And so that takes me to my next question, the timing of this. So obviously, set the ball in motion. You're going to start filling out the required paperwork for it and all. What are the projected completion dates of these 4 new projects?
Good question. So the middle school air conditioner, unfortunately, we won't have the ability to do so at the end of the school year. It's just not in the cards, because first of all, it's just going to take too long. I don't believe we're going to have the luxury of doing it over the summer, okay, the lead time on a lot of this material. So the best that we can hope for is that the installation occurs in the fall, okay, or early spring, but it will, the bottom line is, those air conditioners will be in place for the spring of '23, no later than that, okay? Now, the district office, the roof and the gutters, quite frankly, that can happen at any time once we get approval, okay? We currently have a slate roof. It's worth mentioning, we're not going back with a slate roof. We're going back with architectural shingles and a look that is almost, replicates that look. I will tell you that you will see and you will actually approve the shingles that we use. We find that to be a good practice. A lot of people in the community are going to want the slate back. It's really cost prohibitive, and we want the board to be fully apprised of what we're putting up. Okay?
Pardon?
Yeah.
They have actual, it's like my mother. The slate, the tiles that replace some of these older homes, the
Yep.
1800s, they make tiles that look identical.
I
They're
know.
expensive,
I know.
but they look identical to slate. They're like a rubberized tile is actually
Yes.
what it is.
We've looked at a bunch of stuff, and there'll be time for that, and we will definitely make you aware,
Yeah,
for sure.
thank you.
The asbestos removal, that's something that's going to require typically like a break, a winter break or something like that, where I can isolate the building from when people actually are going to be in the district. It's going to be a little tricky, but we can handle that once we get approved. And then the backflow, that'll happen immediately as well. That's a lot of paperwork and behind-the-scenes permitting and so forth.
And my last question, in terms of the money's, it's fungible, right? At the end of the day, it's just bookkeeping entries that you're going to be able to use this money and not claim it being Fed funds. It's district money going into the capital fund.
Yes.
I get that.
Yep.
You mentioned that doing it that way will result in it being state aidable.
Correct.
My question is, when will we get that state aid or that reimbursement from the state on these projects? Is it over the life of each individual project? Is it immediate or what?
Okay. So anything at the district office is not aidable.
Right.
We know that. The district-wide backflow preventers, that project, you don't start getting aid until you complete the project and you get what I call all the paperwork back up to the state. And then you start getting aid. So as I mentioned to you, that backflow preventer, that's just the first phase of it. Okay, so we're not going to do that, the second phase for the next year. With regards to the big one here, the middle school air conditioning, again, once we get the paperwork up, my feeling is that we would get the project done and the paperwork up, and I would expect us to start to see aid in the 23-24 school year, the year after it's complete.
And that would be paid that year or over the life of the project?
It would be
'Cause-
paid, this project would probably be amortized by the state at 15 years, so it'd be paid out over 15 years.
It
Just-
always is.
Yeah.
It always is.
No, they don't give it to you all up front.
They never catch it. You're lucky if they give it at all.
It's just like a bond.
Harvey, is there a way you can apply early or partial completion during the project?
No.
On something that large?
No, they require you to have certain paperwork that the architect or engineer signs off on that says the project is complete.
And of the projects there, the bottom one, the backflow preventers, the only ones we're doing in-house with our own personnel, or?
Of that one, yes. Yeah, we don't do roofing. Asbestos is, you got to be certified, and
Yeah.
that's, hazmat suits and all
Yeah,
that
yeah,
stuff. And certainly the air conditioning. With regards to the air conditioning, it does involve some wiring. We're exploring whether or not we can do some of that in-house to keep the cost even lower. That's still in the planning phase.
Maybe those new shingles, we can reduce that fuel cost of that $8,000 fuel hit.
I'm sure.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you, Harvey. Move on to new business, the secret resolution. I am going to take it as per document. Now therefore be resolved that the board finds and concludes that the proposed action is a type 2 action within the meaning of 6 NYCRR 617.5 and therefore is not subject to review under SECRA and the regulations thereunder. Resolved that a copy of this resolution shall be sent to any involved or interested agencies. Do I have a motion? And a second. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. The next one is the 2022 Transfer to Capital Board of Ed Approval Resolution. I will also take that as per document, whereas such projects will total an estimated expenditure of $1,502,000, and whereas such projects will be presented to the voters of the school district as a separate capital expenditure as part of the 2022-23 school budget to be voted upon at the annual meeting on May 17th, 2022. It is hereby resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools that the above projects are approved for presentation to the voters as part of the 2022-23 school year budget and subject to voter approval, are approved to be undertaken by the school district. The superintendent of schools, assistant superintendent for business, district architect, and district council are hereby authorized to take whatever steps are necessary to effectuate the projects once approved by the voters. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Nancy, just one comment. I know that we are really tied to the supply chain in terms of getting equipment and supplies, especially air conditioning and the like, right? Big box stuff's hard to find these days based on the chip shortage and the like. But I would really encourage us to try to remedy this issue at the middle school as fast as possible. And I know we're targeting spring, but I think it would be really, really helpful if we could get it installed sooner than that. Only because we've heard numerous members of the middle school talk about this air conditioning problem there and the heat in some of these wings for a long time. So I think if we could move expeditiously, that'd be wonderful. And I know Harvey's really a master of hedging everyone's expectations, but I would really encourage us to try to move faster than just spring of next year. Thank
All I
you.
can tell you is we're going to move full steam ahead. Stop us.
Have you identified, have you put out the information for people to bid on this?
Not yet, because again, we have to wait. The final approval lies with the taxpayers. Lies with the
No, and that's the other thing, as far as going out to bid right now, work is backed up by months.
Yeah, the state will not allow us to go out.
Yeah, and all of the companies, HVACs and the metal workers and the sheet metal, it's all backed up by months. Even he can't do the impossible. You could try, Harvey. I'm not, if anyone could, you could, so.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Thank you. We're up to our second recognition of visitors. May address the board at this point. Anyone wishing to address the board, each person is asked to speak into the microphone and identify himself or herself. Speakers are asked to limit comments to 3 minutes, and the public comment period will have a 30-minute allocation. We would ask that if the 30-minute mark is being reached, then we would close the comment period. Please remember, there is no cross-discussing between persons or the board. Each speaker may speak once during each comment period. And please remember that personal attacks of any kind have no place in our community, district, or meetings, and only serve to create conflict and tear us apart at the exact moment when we should be coming together. Anything of this nature directed towards staff, students, or community is unacceptable.
Hi, I'm Sarah Brabson. I'm a volunteer for football youth. I am on the Cornwall Youth Football Board. This is my 3rd season being head coach for football flag. What you just said, Nancy, is exactly. We should come together and not make comments on Facebook, especially since calling, I feel, Dave Cartwright, who has volunteered 30-plus years in this community, for youth football, trying to get a field starting in January and finding out the week of we start flag football that we don't have fields. But we got a field because he got it at the military academy. We got it. So I had to sign and send an email out to my players, and I'm coaching 2 teams because we don't have volunteers. We have very little volunteers out of this community. And just imagine if we didn't have any volunteers. We wouldn't have a youth program. But the volunteers we do have give 110%, just like myself. So I had to send another email out to my parents and tell them where we're going to have flag football for 160 kids we have. Is this going to happen in August? Are we going to have fields for tackle? I really hope so, because I don't see this happening for soccer, the youth soccer, or youth lacrosse. It's great to have a golf. I really think golf should be on a golf field. Or why aren't we using the high school fields for the high school players? I don't understand that. I really don't. But I'm here for Dave Cartwright because he had surgery today. I've only volunteered for 3 seasons. He's volunteered for 30 plus. So please get it right, be polite on Facebook before making comments. I'm very outraged about it. And I'm only one parent. But I was professional with my emails out to my parents, or I would have asked them to be here with their kids tonight to show support. And also, when you're talking, you had the board. You had everybody watching you. Do you know how many times I've come here and seen people working on their computers or looking at their phones? I've never seen anything like it before. You guys look at your stuff. It's so rude. It's so rude. You work for the taxpayers, right? You work for the kids, but you're working on your computers and not listening to their parents or looking at your phones. Can you imagine me as a nurse? I've been a nurse 27 years, and I still volunteer my time for this community, but I was working on a computer or looking at my phone during work. That's not right. That's not right. Listen to us. Listen to us parents. Thank you.
Anthony, go ahead. It's on.
Okay, hello. Since we're looking at the budget, I will ask Mr. Sutherland to add one small item line. Because the high school, as I said before, is the higher elevation, and all these homes at the lower elevation, would be extremely smart for this board, Mr. Sutherland, to put in another item line to drill testing wells by each home. You need to establish a baseline on the quality of the present aquifer. Later on, if I'm not succeeding in stopping this project, you will need to do additional testing to check the water contamination. Because, remember, all these people have the only source of drinking water comes from the wells. If we contaminate it, you guys are not going to be responsible for it. All Cornwall taxpayers are on the hook for this. Plus the wetlands. Remember what I said a couple meetings ago? The Biden-Harris administration are pushing extremely hard through the EPA program to banish as much as of the other chemicals program. They're going to be hitting extremely hard. Thank you.
My name is Matthew Palmer. I'm with Cornwall Football. This is my second year, and I just have one question. If flag football is not at the middle school, where would they play? That's all I have to say. We've all been practicing at the high school last year and for as long as many seniors can remember. The high school field is not suitable for a football game. It's not the right dimensions. It's not safe. It gets very muddy very easy, and it's not a safe place to play.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to closing comments from the board. John, we'll start with you. And thank you both for being able to stay with us tonight. We appreciate that.
So, first, I'd like to say it's lovely to see all your faces and see all these smiling faces. But Caleb and I have been doing this for a long time, and it's really made me realize, just how blessed I am to be on this board and to serve as a member here. It's really taught me so many different things, and it's opened up so many different conversations to a lot of classmates that I never thought I would talk to, and it's introduced me to so many different people on this board, and just to any young kids listening, to any young high school kids, middle school kids, I really encourage applying for this position. You won't regret it. It's taught me so many different life lessons, made me so much of a better public speaker, and basically you won't regret it. Thank you.
I obviously echo the comments that he just made, but I just wanted to make a quick point. I'm actually, before I do, I just want to proceed it with, has there been a decision for where the fields are made? Is that a finalized decision, where the new field will be put if it's approved? Is that finalized yet or no? Okay. That was just my one question. And I echo the same points that John was saying. It honestly, it's always interesting coming to these board meetings. We always hear so many interesting things from the community and hear the people's opinions, and we get to sit through and learn more about how budgeting works. And I appreciate the opportunity, and I thank all of you for it.
I was asked by Brendan, who had to leave early, to let everybody know that the first capital project forum, public forum, will be held on April 6th. I forget where that was. It here? Here, on April 6th. So in order to get all of your information about the capital project, I suggest that you attend that, because it's going to be full of information and current situations and all the information you want to know, and probably more than you want to know. So that was the one business thing. I was so pleased to see on our personnel paperwork today that Katie Beloga is going to be an assistant coach for the modified track team. Again, another example of the district thinking like above and beyond of, this kid is a phenomenal runner. She's not far in age compared to the kids on the modified team, whereas, we coaches or we adults are ancient. And not you, Megan, you're not ancient.
Speak for yourself.
Just to clarify, Katie's her mom, who is also a phenomenal runner.
I was all psyched about
this. She's a fabulous runner.
She is too, I'm sure, but.
We always joke that her and I ran together in high school, but we weren't on the same team. Because she was in a league of her own as well as her daughter, so.
Oh, man, here I was thinking it was going to be one of the high school kids. Okay, well, I'm really impressed that her mother, who has helped generate such a great runner, is going to be a modified coach, track coach too. So that's great. That's a bummer. I mean, it's good, but it's a bummer. Thank you for stopping me before I really went off the charts. The other thing that I wanted to just kind of discuss and appreciate the fact that in our CSE cases that we check, that we get every month, we get the report of all the CSE cases. This month's was 17 pages of annual reviews and, meetings with the CSE committees. And I just wanted to give a shout out to the personnel pupil services, because that work is not an easy thing. That is a huge endeavor, not only the coordination elements, but then getting the teachers in there and getting everybody to, give their input on trying to give the best education, the least restrictive education for all of our kids. And I just wanted to commend them on all their work. There were, I think, 142 students this time around that they were meeting about, and I think that's a nice thing to see. And lastly, to end on well, it's all positive, but I went to see The Little Mermaid Junior, phenomenal. Went to see Honk. It was nice to see so many kids who, hadn't been able to do drama, and 2 years ago, literally the middle school show, 2 years ago they did all of this work, and it was the weekend that they were supposed to have the show that COVID hit and all the schools were canceled. So those kids were ready and ready to go on, had done all the work, the costumes have been built or created, everything. Those kids were back on stage a couple weeks ago, and phenomenal. You could just see the energy in them, and they were very excited. I didn't get to go see Aladdin Jr. only because when I drove by, the line was out the door, down the sidewalk, and down another sidewalk. I didn't want to take somebody else's seat, but I heard it was a great deal. And very excited to go see Mamma Mia this weekend. So again, it's so nice to see the arts alive and in person again. We don't have to be outside anymore to watch shows, and so I'm really looking forward to yet another theatrical production in the district. And I think that's all I had, so I won't take too much time.
Oh, it's on. Okay. This will be my second year on this Board of Education. And in a past life, I spent many years on a different Board of Education where we also had some very large capital projects, very large. We built high schools, we did reconfigurations of a district, we added on to buildings. And I know that it is a huge undertaking. And I have been very impressed in the past 2 years that I've been here that what has been spoken about at this table consistently is what do we do for the health and safety and the education of our children and the health and safety of our staff. I've been really impressed by the fact that the committee has met so frequently, and I've often made comments to Margaret where some of these committee members, the hours that they put in, if they wanted to get a second job, they could make some nice income. Because it really is. It's amazing what they've done. I'm not on the committee, so I'm kind of on the lazy side. But that's the first thing. It's difficult sometimes sitting here, and I want to hear from the public. But when someone comes at the very end of a process and then says there's been no input regarding buildings and grounds and what needs to be done in a building, it's not easy. It's like your house. I don't know about anyone else in this room, but there might be, especially years ago when I was really young and poor, there might have been 30 things that we had to do, but we had to prioritize them because we just didn't have the money. So there were certain things you did because your kids also had crooked teeth. And in the case of what this board has done, and again, I'm just 2 years on the Board of Education. I'm 6 years in Cornwall. And what they did was look at what went wrong in the past. And yes, you can learn from that. But also make tough decisions. And I think that's the hardest part, because I don't think there's anyone on this board and any one of the administrators that wouldn't like to see everything just the way every student and every parent wants it. But it's impossible. So you have to look at sometimes the greater good, what's the most urgent, what helps the most children, but also what includes all children. So we have been very open with the public about this whole project and from the beginning. And if anyone wants to see how we came to decisions, they can. And they could have in the past 2 years. But to say that we didn't go to the public and we haven't reached out to the public about this project is very unfair. It's unfair to the community that doesn't know what we've done, and it's unfair to the people that have been doing the work. So that's all I want to say. I just want to say I'm really anxious to get this project done because these buildings are in great need. And as I said, our students and staff deserve no less. That's it. Thank you.
So I learned long ago that all feedback is valuable, and how you use it will determine whether you achieve your goals or not. And I have heard throughout the course of my time on the board, now 4th year, right, Louis? We're on our 4th year. More and more public commentary. I think the first board meeting I went to, there was like no one here. And now we have a platoon dedicated that's always here, in number at least. And that's helpful, and that's healthy, and I believe it's constructive. So I thank everyone who spoke tonight, especially Thomas, Felix, Matthew, because what they're sharing is how what we decide and what the administration decides, how it affects their lives. And we've said this time and time again, and I know the board is committed to it, that our focus are the kids. And to have the kids participate in the process is invaluable. So I thank you all for sharing your thoughts. And if nothing else, those thoughts demonstrate that we can always do better as a district, as a team, as a people. So thank you. I also want to thank the other commentaries this evening. And we'll see how this all plays out. My fingers are crossed it will be successful and that over the next month and a half, we'll be able to put a convincing theme together to convince those who are still not convinced that the way forward makes sense for the community. I also want to thank Terry and his team. One, for the efforts on pre-K. It is good that you're working the problem and very transparent in what your latest thoughts are. I hope it makes sense to me, and I hope that it comes to fruition as you're designing it as you go. Harvey, thank you for the budget stuff. A lot of things out there still to be resolved, but your steady hand and good communication as it pertains to the numbers and the rationale behind it all, I think is invaluable, not just for the board, but also for ultimately the taxpayer. So thank you for what you do there. John and Caleb, great job as always. Thank you for what you do. And I look forward to seeing Mamma Mia this week. I am going to opening night, which is always exciting, I guess, because they haven't worked out all the bugs, but I look forward to seeing our kids in action, so thank you.
I will try to be brief, as we've had a lot of really long meetings lately. This is going to come in at not 3.5 or 2.5 hours, hopefully. So I want to echo John's sentiments about those who came for public comment. I just want to reiterate, there's some familiar faces in the audience tonight, some not too familiar faces, at least for this venue. And it can be deeply unsatisfying because just last spring I was in those chairs to share your thoughts and not get an immediate answer. Sadly, that's not the way the process works, but just know that we are taking notes, concerns are heard and acted upon. Echoing the thoughts on the plays, Aladdin Jr. I did attend. I had a favorite person in the play, so I had a good reason to attend. But similar to the middle school play, it was very emotional because they were 1 week away when COVID hit from performing the exact same play. So they had 1 week to go, and everything got put on pause. And it was, well, maybe we'll do it in 2 months. Maybe we'll do it in, 2 years later. So, so I'm very happy that went on. Again, thank you for the UPK. I think we're in a tough spot for 22-23, but a lottery with a wait list seems to be the best way to handle that, and we'll be much better set up for 23-24. I think it's, in a way, good that we're being forced to crawl before we walk, before we run, because we are going to have to forge a delicate balance working with the existing community providers. So the last thing we want to do is push people out that have been serving our community for decades. That's my thought there. And one comment, John, I believe it was John, maybe it was Caleb. One of you guys said, it's great to not have the masks on, get to see everybody's faces. I didn't get to say this at our meeting that was 3.5 hours last month. I decided to spare everybody, but members of our community, if anybody is watching at this point at home, we need to remember that we're in this position just because the governor made a decision. The legislature still hasn't acted. So I'm not here to tell you to vote one way or the other, but we just need to remember we're here because of the whims of one person, and we need to think about that when you think about who you vote for in November for both governor, state legislator, state senator. You need to think about that.
Thank you. As a former board member once is known for is ditto. I'm not going to repeat everything that everybody has said up to now. I agree. One of the things that I do want to mention is it seems we have started something. When Cornwall went to go visit BOCES and see the programs, it has now gotten to the point where a large number of districts are now doing the same thing. To the extent that the budget presentation, that dinner that was going to be on April 6th, we're going to be getting a notice tomorrow that that's going to be Google Meet. There's very few people have signed up for the dinner, and a lot of the board members felt that they've seen in person instead of having to go to that dinner. Personally, I'm going to miss the dinner. But I just wanted to mention that and change hats for a second. If you guys ever have a question on what the BOCES budget is, we did get a lot of information today from Linda. I'll be happy to let you know and answer your questions. Okay? Thank you.
I guess, first of all, it is really nice to see everybody's faces again. You know, it's been a long 2 years, and it's nice to have our agenda and so much of the feedback and everything not be solely around masks and, you know, whether we're on a hybrid or whatever, to be back to some sort of more normal way of proceeding. And it's always, you know, this is a pretty diversified board. I consider myself privileged to serve with all these people that volunteer their time, you know, freely on committees, on this board, on preparing, on reading documents when you're here. And I'm very appreciative of how much more participation there is from the public in everybody showing up and telling us there are things that you don't necessarily see that are going on in the community, or you don't read about, or there's so many talents in the community that contribute to us being a stronger district. So I appreciate all that. John and Caleb, always great to have you here and give us the perspective from the students, and then to also tell us what's going on in the different schools. Congratulations to everybody in all the plays. It's great, unfortunately, 2 years later, but it's great to see everything that's happening in the arts and with sports, and, you know, the participation we have in the community. You know, I know there's a lot of juggling that has to go on to accommodate all the fields and the needs, and there's, with the work that goes on with the different committees here and with the public, I'm really hoping that when we put the vote out, that people are going to get behind the capital budget. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in our schools, on our fields, and there are going to be forums coming up. And, you know, please encourage people you know to come to those forums, because I think, you know, sometimes there's a lot of, you know, confusion, or the information that people have isn't necessarily accurate in terms of what's going on. And come to those meetings and, you know, hear the material that's been put together, and ask the questions if you feel that something doesn't sound right to you. So I really encourage all of that, and, you know, the health and safety of the community and the education of the children is paramount to everything we do. And I guess I'd just like to point out that I don't print documents to bring here with me. I bring a laptop so I can read the board documents on my laptop. I'm not emailing friends or that sort of thing. So it's greener. You know, even at work, we don't print things any longer. So try to do it in this form. So I hope that people don't feel that in any way that I or others are disrespecting them or not listening to them, because what people have to say is the lifeblood of this board. Thank you.
Larry, this may or may not be true. It's a rumor I heard that the BOCES is going virtual because they couldn't make enough cookies. I can't substantiate. We'd have to look deeper into it, but that's just what I heard.
I'll check.
Just what I heard. Caleb and John, thank you as always. Again, it's great to hear the student perspective and then your little blurbs and spins and to hear you speak at the end. I appreciate it. Thank you. Harvey, appreciate the presentation. It's that time of the year. That's what we do. I forgot to say, I like your tie. You're welcome. It's got that spring feel. So I don't know if anybody has gone into it, but the second half newsletter went out for the district. And if you haven't, I would highly encourage you to flip through that and just, it's just Cornwall. It just oozes Cornwall with, one success after the next, after, teacher achievements from Mr. Flannery as the master teacher to, art accolades, music milestones, the scholar athletes they speak of, the 2 finalists for the National Merit Scholarship. So, I mean, it's just, when I get it. I didn't read it right away. I had an opportunity to read it, and it just, again, it oozes Cornwall. It oozes, who we are and our desire to be great. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentations tonight and the updates. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us and being able to stay tonight. I appreciate that as well. I was able to make it to Aladdin. It was especially special for me. My niece was one of the producers. She shared with me that evening what her final comment was. This was her youngest was now in his final performance at the school, and she reminded me that back 35 years ago, she and my children and their friends got together on the playground and started scheming on how to have some sort of a drama production. And that's really where that all got it started at COH. And so for her, this was just, she just had the best time, and it was wonderful. And all the parents that were involved with it and the children, and I'm sure all the other performances have been equally wonderful. And that was another one that 2 years ago, just they were a week away, and they also were not able to do it. So that was very sweet. I thank everybody for being here tonight. I do want to just say one thing, that Dave Carnwright and his wife and I have known each other for close to 40 years. Our children grew up together. I would never speak poorly of him. I certainly know his tremendous dedication to this community in the many, many roles that he has played. I wish him well through his surgery, and I will certainly check in and see how he is doing. Thank you all for being here tonight. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hate when people lie about what I say.